The political problem is, how do we grow the economy of the United States? How do we deliver prosperity to our people? And how do we overcome a deficit? And all that while maintaining global leadership. So everyone, every institution, every investor, every company, every politician is struggling with these problems today. Bitcoin's the solution. Why is it the solution? Is it the solution? A lot of people are wondering that. I'll put the Bitcoin return for the last 4 years on this chart I just showed you, and you can see Bitcoin is just punching a hole in all the traditional capital markets.
Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, has now boldly predicted Bitcoin's value will skyrocket to $13 million per coin by 2045, proving that the best is yet to come for this revolutionary digital asset. Backing his bold conviction with action, MicroStrategy has amassed a jaw-dropping $7.5 billion worth of Bitcoin since 2020, cementing itself as one of the largest institutional holders of this digital gold. Saylor's unwavering strategy is simple but powerful. Buy Bitcoin relentlessly, no matter the market climate. With predictions of Bitcoin's value potentially soaring tenfold, he envisions a future where Bitcoin not only dominates finance, but redefines the very essence of wealth creation. Now, Bitcoin is smashing records, having shattered the $90,000 ceiling and sprinting toward an unprecedented $100,000 milestone. This is uncharted territory, a moment in financial history where Bitcoin isn't just a currency or asset, it's a global phenomenon. The world watches as Bitcoin turns skeptics into believers, proving it is truly unstoppable. Let's watch clips from the interview for further insights into Michael Saylor's speech. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more exclusive content. Enjoy the video.
The political problem is, how do we grow the economy of the United States? How do we deliver prosperity to our people? And how do we overcome a deficit? And all that while maintaining global leadership. So everyone, every institution, every investor, every company, every politician is struggling with these problems today. Bitcoin's the solution. Why is it the solution? Is it the solution? A lot of people are wondering that. I'll put the Bitcoin return for the last 4 years on this chart I just showed you, and you can see Bitcoin is just punching a hole in all the traditional capital markets. This isn't 1 year or 2 years. This is 4 years, but you know, it happens to be the 4 years since MicroStrategy decided Bitcoin was the solution. And you might say, well, you cherry-picked that number. That's the low number. I cherry-picked that number because the other numbers are better, and I'll show you that in a second. If we look at this entire set of asset classes, they line up kind of elegantly. If you're actually holding bonds for the last 4 years, you lost 5% of your capital a year. They're losers. Every bank in the US is capitalized on bonds. Every operating company is capitalized on bonds. You wonder why the banks are sick? You wonder why the operating companies are sick? They're sitting on those minus 5% instruments, and that's their best idea. Gold's plus 6%. You might as well just hold gold. Real estate's plus 10%. The S&P is 15%. You can double it with the Magnificent Seven. Find the best companies in the S&P, the NVIDIAs, the Apples, the Googles. 29%. And this little creature we call Bitcoin is doubling that, 60%. And when you look at that chart, a lot of things become pretty clear. But this is the past 14 years. Bitcoin's not just winning. I mean, it's up 78% in 8 years. It's up 103% in 12 years. It's up 168% in 14 years. It's consistently winning. And at some point, if you look at the numbers, you start to wonder, well, why is it winning? And is this a fluke? And the irony, of course, is that you still get questions from the normies every day like, well, when does the run stop? When do nuclear reactors stop producing more electricity than water wheels? When does the airplane stop flying faster than the donkey cart? The answer is it's not going to stop because it's structural and technical. Everyone in the world is searching for an asset uncorrelated to the S&P 500 with higher returns. Uncorrelated and performing. It's the Holy Grail. Banks have conferences on this stuff. Well, Bitcoin is that asset. It's an asset without the counterparty risk that comes from competitors, countries, corporations, creditors, cultures, or currencies. Everything else you own in your life has a counterparty risk to one of those items, except Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, in essence, orthogonal to the rest of the market. That makes it alpha. But you don't have to believe it from first principles. You don't have to study it. You can just look at the data. This is fidelity data. It's showing the lack of correlation and the Sharpe ratio. It's got the highest Sharpe ratio. It's got the lowest correlation. So even if you haven't read the book, The Bitcoin Standard, even if you haven't thought about it for 100 hours or 1,000 hours or 10 hours, all you have to do is just run the numbers. The market is screaming at you that it's an uncorrelated, high-performing asset. But to truly understand it, you have to go back to first principles. And this is my alma mater, MIT, and this is where I was taught to think from first principles, and they taught you how to build things that had never been built before and solve problems that had never been solved before. And it was an epiphany that you're actually expected and capable of solving problems no human being on the face of the earth has ever solved before. I mean, Elon Musk keeps pointing this out and proving it, and that's why he's the richest man in the world. The capital markets are full of people doing the same thing over and over again, the same way.
Bitcoin isn't just a misunderstood digital asset. It's a groundbreaking tool for long-term capital preservation, as Michael Saylor passionately argues. Unlike traditional financial or physical assets vulnerable to instability, taxes, or destruction, Bitcoin offers unparalleled security and resilience. Its decentralized design eliminates reliance on intermediaries, creating a fortress of value in a chaotic world where instability costs the global economy an estimated $10 trillion annually. Bitcoin's scarcity, with only 21 million coins, sets the stage for exponential growth, redefining the way we protect and grow wealth. Saylor emphasizes that Bitcoin isn't digital money, but digital wealth, blending the strengths of financial and physical assets while sidestepping their flaws. As Bitcoin surges past $90,000 and sets its sights on $100,000, it's rewriting the rules of the $450 trillion global capital market. This isn't just a moment. It's a transformation, proving Bitcoin's unmatched potential to preserve and grow wealth in ways the world has never seen before. Let's go back to the discussion and watch more clips from the video.
Next time you hear someone say, well, what's the Bitcoin use case? There's no use case. The use case is the most valuable thing in the entire human race. It's $450 trillion. It's all the capital in the world. The use case is you get to keep your money, right? That's actually the epiphany. Once you understand that people are using assets for two reasons, long-term capital preservation, or the second reason is utility. Your yacht, your jet, your bakery, your farm, your ranch, your plane, company, that's utility value. Your piece of art you put on the wall, it's utility. Half this stuff is for utility, the other half is capital preservation. And the challenge with preserving capital is you either do it with financial assets and they degrade over time due to entropy. Everything you invest in is subject to weather and war and tax and inheritance and income and excise. And these are the risk factors in every 10K. They degrade the capital. And so people that want to get away from financial assets, they buy land and they buy buildings and they buy physical items. But entropy degrades them too. There's a hurricane coming, in Florida right now. It's going to hit in the next few days. You can't buy hurricane insurance. You're just living with this chaos in the real world. And of course, I could talk about the litany of ways that your physical capital breaks down, but you all know it. What's the cost of entropy? What's the cost of chaos, confusion, and competition, inflation, politics, and war? Well, the cost is like 3% of $450 trillion. The cost is $15 trillion a year. It's trillions of dollars a year. Someone says, well, what's the use case of Bitcoin? It's like, well, we're not going to lose 10 trillion a year. Like, you get to keep the 10 trillion, right? That's what's driving people to Bitcoin. When you live in a world without Bitcoin, and you live in a world of capital assets that are physical and financial, you see your useful life is 10, 20, 30 years. If you buy a Ferrari or a yacht, you're probably not going to preserve your capital. But most people buy 10, 20, 30-year useful life assets, and they struggle and worry about them. How many people worry about their stocks every day? Worry about their building, worry about their business, worry about currencies, worry about bonds. There's an entire industry of worry. That's a constant struggle. This guy Satoshi came along and discovered a method to transfer value without a trusted intermediary. And everybody repeats it ad infinitum. Satoshi figured out how to send something of value between two people without an intermediary. But that wasn't the brilliant idea. The idea that's so profound it shakes the foundation of the economy is that Satoshi figured out a method to store value without a trusted intermediary. Because sending the value, it's like a little bit better than Visa or the Fed wire. Storing the value, well, that makes it the most useful thing for $450 trillion of capital. That's worth $10 trillion a year. That's the big idea. And it's a very poorly understood idea. Bitcoin represents the transformation of our capital from financial and physical assets to digital. What we've created is an asset without financial risk that's in a currency or a stock, and without physical risk that's in real estate or property. And that makes it digital capital. Not digital currency, digital capital. Everyone that's a hater, everyone that's skeptic, like, oh, it's a digital currency, it won't work. Well, that's because you decided to define it as the wrong thing. Yes, it's not a currency, it's capital. Once you understand it as capital, you realize that you ought to compare it to a $100 million building in Miami and think about the benefits of owning a building versus owning a digital building.
Michael Saylor points out Bitcoin's unique benefits. He sees it as digital capital that outperforms traditional investments regardless of location. Bitcoin provides the opportunity to own an invisible, unbreakable, and immortal building, devoid of taxes, traffic, renters, and hassle. Saylor believes that if you had $100 million to invest in Africa, Russia, or China, Bitcoin would be the best option. There is no better asset to possess, and Bitcoin addresses the issue of worldwide capital preservation. According to Saylor, Bitcoin is the 1,000-year asset, with a useful life of 30,000 years. It is backed by raw power, 733 exahash, which is comparable to 18 nuclear reactors, and $850 billion in real capital. Bitcoin dominates the cryptocurrency industry, with 420 million advocates and 220 million holders. Saylor identifies institutional investment as an essential driver of Bitcoin growth. 12 of the top 20 ETFs established in 2024 are tied to Bitcoin, making it the 7th largest asset by market capitalization, outperforming Saudi Aramco. He expects Bitcoin to take its position in the 60-40 portfolio, with allocations increasing from 1 to 3% to 10 to 20%. Saylor is the CEO of MicroStrategy, which focuses on buying and holding Bitcoin while also issuing new fixed income products to provide intelligent leverage. Their goal is straightforward: purchase Bitcoin, raise funds to buy more, and repeat. Looking ahead 21 years, Saylor predicts further technology improvements, AI expansion, and the emergence of lucrative firms. Bitcoin will expand swiftly, gold will be demonetized, and equity will rise. The money supply will grow at a 7% annual rate, with Bitcoin leading. He believes that by 2045, the price of Bitcoin will be $13 million per coin, with a 29% yearly growth rate. Saylor's belief in Bitcoin remains unshakable. Each Bitcoin not purchased today will cost $13 million in the future. The world will not turn upside down, but people who invest in Bitcoin will benefit. MicroStrategy's tight focus on Bitcoin has produced extraordinary results, up $135 billion, with $3.5 to $4 billion gained in just 5 days. Leverage fuels this growth, and once attained, the temptation is to acquire more Bitcoin. Would you rather invest in a traditional asset, such as real estate or stocks, or in Bitcoin, considering Michael Saylor's argument that it's a superior store of value and a potential 1,000-year asset? Please drop your thoughts in the comments below, share this video, and hit your thumbs on the like button. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.